This lesson contains a description of just about the simplest applet that can be loaded and displayed in a web browser. Now, a web browser doesn't know about applets, it knows about HTML, so everything starts with an HTML file that we feed to the web browser. The HTML contains an applet tag that names the class file and specifies the size of the applet window. Here's a very simple HTML file. There it is. That's the entire web page. All it does is display a single heading line and an applet. It was kept simple on purpose so you could see the form of the applet tag. Three things are specified in the applet tag. First, there is the name of the class file, then the height and width of the window. That's right, an applet has no control whatsoever over the size of its window. That's under complete control of the web browser. And the web browser gets it from here in the applet tag. If you omit the height and width tag, it's an error. Different browsers will do different things, but I'll bet none of them will do what you would like for them to do. The source code of the Howdy applet looks like this. You already know most of what there is to know about the internals of an applet. It's a component that displays an empty window like a canvas. It has a paint method that's passed a graphics object just like any other component. The Howdy applet class extends the applet class, which is a member of the Java applet package. It's a component. That is, it extends the component class, so it has things like the paint method. As we'll be seeing, it has lots of other things that we've been using in the previous examples, such as threads and the update method. And it has some extra stuff, too, because of the special requirements of living inside a web browser. In this simple example, the applet does nothing but display a string of characters at a fixed location in the window. By using the appropriate section on the File menu of your web browser and then looking around until you find the JWork directory, you get a list like this of the names of the files in the directory. The only one of these that a browser understands is the HTML file, so let's select that one to be opened. The heading text and the applet window are displayed as we expected. You might want to note that the default background color is different from the default background color of a regular Java application. In fact, different web browsers will have different Java plugins installed, so nothing particularly standard happens when you let things default. In an applet, even more than in an application, you need to try to specify everything. People want to know how long it takes to load an applet over the internet. It seems that applets have a bit of a reputation for being slow to start. Well, it's quite true for large applets. You can take a look at the size of the class file and get some idea of how long it will take to load. Here you can see that the class file is only 368 bytes, so it loads quickly even over a dial-up link. But of course it doesn't do much either. The more code you put in your applet, the larger the class file and the slower it loads, but it depends on the application. A well-written Java applet can do more than anything else in a web browser. For example, I do a bit of stock trading online through an applet that takes almost 10 minutes to load. But once I have it loaded, it keeps me up to the second with all the information I need, so I only have to load it once in the morning and I'm good for the day. But there are some jobs for which an applet is just the wrong tool to use. Oh, there's no such thing as a rogue applet. In a regular web browser, an applet cannot access anything that could cause harm. In particular, a remotely loaded applet cannot read or write to your local disk drive. There was a bug in an old version of Netscape that provided a loophole around this, but that old browser doesn't exist anymore and the problem has gone away. All that's left is the rumor that an applet can be evil. There's a handy little tool that you should be aware of. It's a program called the Applet Viewer. You get it free as part of the Java installation. If you feed it an HTML file, it throws away everything in it but the applet tags and displays just the applets. Here, let me show you. It's a great tool to use while you're developing applets. For one thing, it's very picky about the HTML syntax, and for another, it won't load an old version of the applet in its cache the way a web browser does. It always shows you exactly what you've got in your current class file. Oh, and by the way, the first time you run an applet in the applet viewer, you'll probably get an error message about a missing Applet Viewer Properties file. You can ignore the message because before you're finished reading it, the Applet Viewer creates a default configuration file for you, and you won't ever get that error message again.